Hi, I'm Jana, and welcome back to the channel. Before we start the video, I'd like to give a personal and kind of an unfortunate update. A couple months ago, my house got broken into, and please just bear with me here. I am going somewhere with this. So at around 2 or 3 in the morning, some random guy literally crawled through a window to steal from my house. Luckily, my dog woke me up, my husband confronted him, and the guy jumped back out the window. The only thing the damn burglar managed to steal was my phone. Don't worry, because fortunately, no one got hurt, which I am very grateful for. As you can imagine, when an unexpected event like this happens, it tends to mess with you in really specific ways. For example, your sense of safety gets shattered. Your privacy gets violated in a really invasive way. On top of that, I'm not exactly in a position where replacing the phone they stole is like no big deal, you know? I don't feel great about that. To be completely honest with you, I'm not where I want to be financially. And like many people, I don't think I've ever really been. And just to really add salt to the wound, every year around this time, my algorithm seems to go into overdrive, pushing a very specific kind of content. Videos of beautiful young women online who seemingly have it all. Financial success, couple goals, looks that serve. Fancy lifestyles where replacing a stolen phone would barely be an inconvenience. They talk confidently into the camera about how things like mindset and manifestation are what got them where they are today.
What if in this lifetime you can achieve everything that you ever wanted, but you didn't even reach for it because you didn't even try?
If you don't know anything about manifestation, just watch this video and you will know.
Right down to the basics, the most efficient, easiest, and fastest way to manifest literally anything you want. No vision boards, no scripting, no rituals needed. Anything you want, like magic.
Have you seen this type of content before? Of course you have, because it's everywhere these days. Whether you're on Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok, you will come across this content, whether you're looking for it or not. And as we just saw, the message is pretty simple. If you just master your mindset, your dream life is just one manifestation away. And if things aren't going your way, well, you may have done something wrong. You didn't manifest correctly.
You've got manifestation all wrong.
Your mindset was off.
Your mindset literally sucks.
Your standards weren't high enough.
Let's talk about why your standards aren't high enough.
Your energy attracted it.
Okay, girls, your energy is what is going to attract literally everything.
So according to the guru girlies, well, I guess I manifested a home invasion, didn't I? It feels insane to say out loud, but that's kind of the point. With manifestation culture, you're made to believe you're responsible for everything that happens to you. If something goes wrong, it's on you. And what these guru girlies like to call a self-sabotaging limited mindset. Basically, in manifestation culture, you can never be the victim of any situation. No matter how unexpected or traumatizing the situation is, you're always responsible for how you frame it in your mind. And no one preaches that mindset more loudly than TheWizardLiz. Literally.
Everybody has problems. Nobody cares about your victim mindset and about how life was hard for you and how unfair it is. It's unfair to everyone, okay? To everyone.
There's only one type of person that will make it in life, and that's the type of person that has confidence, audacity, and delusion. Those people are not better than you. They're not smarter than you. They have audacity. In this life, to make it, you need cojones. You know what that is? You need balls. Focus on your life. You guys don't mind your business all day. You're sitting, you're scrolling on that phone. What is this celebrity doing? Oh, what is their relationship like? You don't have life. You're not focusing on yourself. Tomorrow you'll be 80 years old. You have grandchildren. They'll be poor because of you, because you were so busy with what that stupid celebrity is doing. Do something yourself.
Do you think men go in a relationship with a woman that they don't find attractive? No, really. Like, you guys are getting traumatized out here by guys that you have to pay for, and you're judging me. Please get your money up, not your funny up. That's what I will say.
If you've clicked on this video, I'm guessing you already know who this woman is, or at least familiar with her name and the conversations around her. Born Liz Jaibralova, TheWizardLiz is, I argue, the face of manifestation culture for the girlies. She is the manifestation queen of the internet, the most popular, the most talked about, and easily the most influential out of all of them. Her life and relationship advice reaches millions of young women looking for advice from someone who looks confident, successful, and has life figured out. Or at least looks like she has. Now, I'm not here to hate on manifestation culture or the women who preach it. That's definitely not what this video is about. Lots of people find these ideas comforting and genuinely helpful, which we will definitely get into. But lately, I've noticed the hype around this content isn't quite what it used to be, and I'm sure you've noticed it too. Girl, the views are dropping. The conversations are shifting. Suddenly, we're yelling.
Bored because of you.
And lately, more people are starting to question if the manifestation mindset sold online is truly transformational or just a load of bullshit. Especially when the manifestation queen herself seems to be living through some very public drama and contradictions.
I am getting married and I am engaged. My fiance is Landon. His name is Landon. This situation just proves to me even more how manifestation and setting your energy onto something really attracts.
I just got cheated on. Also, I'm pregnant, guys.
In fact, with all the drama around the Wizard Liz, we have to ask, what happens when the manifestation mindset she preaches seems to fall short in her own life? That's what this deep dive is about today, so please grab your good vibes and let's dive in. Oh, and I'm okay with the whole break-in thing, by the way. Thank you so much for asking. But no shade or offense, but if a girlie tries to convince me I manifested a sketchy burglar climbing through my window to rob my house and terrorize my family, and I'm not allowed to process it, babe, I might have to throw hands. Subscribe if you approve with this energy and mindset.
Hi guys, my name is Liz and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I am going to show you guys how you can manifest your dream life.
Now, the concept of manifestation has always confused me a little, mostly because it leaves me with more questions than answers. It's interesting how so many people, especially young women, have found a lot of hope and empowerment from the Wizard Liz and her content. At the same time though, as manifestation culture has pretty much lost its initial popularity, I can't help but question what was real about it, what became performative, and how much of it just sounded good. And I think a part of that confusion comes from the fact that manifestation isn't just one thing. The more you look into how it's talked about online, the more you realize it's really a spectrum. Manifestation is a belief your thoughts and intentions can shape your reality, right? It's less about literally willing things into existence and having life like magically go your way, because unfortunately, none of us are real wizards. It's more about being more positive about yourself and having a better outlook on life. And I think this is what most people are actually referring to when they talk about manifestation. It's about believing you are capable, deserving, and allowed to want more for yourself. Which, period. I think we can all agree we need a little more of that in the world, right? Especially when I think many of us grow up in environments that, actively discourages those things. Plus, I think it gives people cute, fun things to do, like writing in aesthetic journals, making Pinterest-worthy vision boards, and dreaming a little bigger. Unless the cost to do those activities becomes an issue, I'd say it's all, pretty harmless. When manifestation looks like this, it's mostly reasonable and can be genuinely helpful. It gives people, especially women, a trendy, accessible language to talk about things like self-worth, ambition, and confidence. On the other hand of the spectrum though, manifestations start to look very, very different. Here, the idea that your thoughts and intentions shape your reality is taken seriously, sometimes maybe a little too seriously. One example of this I found is the subreddit called R Manifestation SP. SP stands for specific person. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. In these spaces, the focus is on manifesting a specific person into a romantic or sexual relationship with you, sort of believing that if you do the manifestation right, their free will kind of, stops being relevant, I guess. If you spend any time reading the posts on the subreddit, you will start to notice some pretty intense patterns that are a bit concerning. People talk about spending hours every day visualizing a future with their SP, who's often like a crush or ex, someone they had a brief connection with. Others post about repeating affirmations like, they will love me, a very specific number of times a day, and feeling legitimately anxious or distressed if they don't.
You want to manifest a text, a call, an email. It doesn't matter if this person's ghosting you. It doesn't matter if they don't know you exist. This is the foolproof method, and it literally works every single time, and it is called the whisper method. Literally works within 24 hours. I've used this to manifest exes I haven't talked to in years. What you're going to do is you are going to close your eyes and you're going to envision yourself walking up to this person as almost a ghost-like spirit and whispering in their ear 3 times what it is you want them to do for you. So it could be like, text me, text me, text me. You're then going to envision yourself kissing their forehead and walking away. Remove all doubt, trust the process, save this video and come back to it tomorrow when it works.
I'm no psychologist or mental health professional, but what I will say is that I really sympathize with people caught in this cycle. This stuff is clearly coming from a place of deep and serious struggle. Thankfully though, this kind of intense manifestation is a smaller part of the spectrum. But to me, it shows how far something meant to be empowering can slide into something more harmful. And I think this really sets the stage for TheWizardLiz, because her story isn't about starting at the extreme ends of manifestation. It's about how one can slowly slide away from the original message, even when they begin from a place that tries to genuinely help people. At the end of 2021, a 22-year-old Liz Jabralova uploaded her first YouTube video titled Be Better or Stay Bitter. Filming on an iPhone while sitting on the floor of what seems to be a room at the St. Regis Hotel in Dubai, Liz talks directly at the camera and asks you one simple question. A question that, without her knowing it yet, would change everything.
Why do you want to change? No, like seriously, why do you want to change?
In the video, Liz shares the kind of typical empowerment advice that was trending back then. A mix of straightforward, sometimes random thoughts about letting go of the past and becoming a better version of yourself.
Hi guys, my name is Liz and welcome to my YouTube channel. I will be giving you guys some advice on leveling up, on being the baddest and best version of yourself as you should. Stop living in the past. We cannot change the past. We cannot change what happened. We cannot change what we did. We cannot change what happened to us. We cannot change anything. That time you choose to live in the past? Honey, that's embarrassing. That's really embarrassing. Now here are some certain things you can do. Instead of focusing on the past, plan your future. What do you want your future to look like? Do you even have any goals? Like, are you trying to accomplish something? Because if you were, you would not be dwelling on the past. You know why? Because you have no time. Hey, you can look is forward. And you have to realize that in order to move forward in your life, you have to forgive yourself first. Stop the self-pity party. Honey, we're done. Stop crying. Stop doing all these things. It's done. Look, I'm gonna tell you something. 80% of the people are happy that you got problems and 20% does not care. Life has to move forward.
So obviously, none of this message is new or that groundbreaking. In my opinion, it wasn't meaningfully different from what other manifestation guru girlies were saying at the time. But something about it clearly resonated with people because Be Better or Stay Bitter went viral almost immediately. And over the next few months, Liz would post similar videos that also garnered millions of views. And I think it's worth exploring why this happened, because growth like this on a new channel is pretty unusual. In fact, when TheWizardLiz blew up, I specifically remember Reddit threads of people speculating if the views on her channel were real or botted. To be fair, this was an unknown Liz at the time, yet her numbers seemed to skyrocket overnight. People were genuinely curious about who this young woman was and how she was making such a big impact online. Some people say it's because Liz felt relatable. In her early videos, it was pretty clear she wasn't reading from a script because her advice came across as, you know, casual and off the cuff. You really get the sense she's talking and not performing. I've seen comments from viewers saying her videos feel like a FaceTime call with a friend who's being blunt with you, but genuinely cares. Someone you know who doesn't sugarcoat things and just tells it how it is.
Are we playing a game? Like, how much more can you embarrass yourself?
Many people gravitate towards this type of personality, and I think that helped her connect with a lot of people. Other people credit Liz's rise to timing, since her early breakthrough was during the pandemic. Now, I'm not sure how you were feeling at the time, but girl, let's be real. The pandemic sucked. A lot of us were stuck at home, isolated, and felt pretty lost. I'm sure you've felt how much people were craving some kind of direction or hope, and I think Liz's videos provided exactly that. You know, encouragement, empowerment, and no-nonsense advice that felt motivating to the people who needed it at the time. Now, all of these explanations make a lot of sense, but the one that stands out to me the most is something a bit more different. A big part of Liz's early appeal, in my opinion, comes from a projection, and not in a negative way, but more like people looked at her, saw the life she was living, and sort of projected their hopes and dreams onto what she was saying, hoping that one day soon they too could be as successful as her. And I think you can really notice it when you read the comments. Coming back to this in 1 year when I'm a millionaire, living in Dubai and running my own business. Mark my words, by this time next year, I'll have my degree, be financially free, and model internationally. Thank you, Liz, for opening my eyes. I just started my YouTube channel. 1 year from now, I'll have 1 million subscribers. Watch. Wow. Okay. Very ambitious. These comments were made years ago, and it does make you curious about where everyone ended up and what actually worked for them, right? And you can see other people were wondering the same thing, replying, update, but met with silence. If you check back on some of those channels with the big YouTube goals, you'll notice absolutely none of them reached them, and some even stopped posting altogether. So, what happened? Now, this isn't a gotcha moment or anything like that. It's not me trying to single out these people. If anything, what's really happening here says more about how today's culture conditions us to expect fast success, or at least to feel extremely anxious and frustrated when it doesn't happen. In today's world, social media trains people to chase success and chase it fast. And I think, we are all familiar with that already. We're living in a time where instant gratification is the norm, where comparison culture is more intense than it's ever been, and the pressure to make it quickly feels almost unavoidable. And honestly, given the state of the economy and how unstable everything in the world feels right now, it almost feels justified to expect fast success. I think, people just want reassurance that they're gonna be okay. And so when you look at it that way, it makes sense why someone like TheWizardLiz resonates so deeply. Her words feel inspiring and feel legitimate, and I think people gravitate towards her because she appears to be living proof that fast success is possible through manifestation. The issue with that, though, is while this kind of messaging feels incredibly empowering in the moment, it often oversimplifies what it actually takes to succeed. Sometimes manifestation alone isn't enough, which those missed goals kind of show us. And sometimes things don't work out the way they're supposed to, which Liz herself ends up learning the hard way. But I'm getting ahead of myself. More to come. Now, wanting fast success and the kind of empowerment Liz's content offers isn't the only reason why so many people latch onto her specifically. Like we talked about earlier, her advice really isn't all that different from what you can find from the other manifestation guru girlies online. In my opinion, what really sets Liz apart early on is how she opened up about her past. Let's just say I've never come across a manifestation guru girly with such an intense background. Liz's family is from Chechnya, a conflicted region in Russia known for its political unrest and violence. She was still very young when her family basically fled to Belgium to escape the conflict in that country. But unfortunately for Liz, escaping one struggle only meant stepping into another. Liz talked openly about financial insecurity being one of the biggest struggles of her childhood. As an immigrant refugee, her mother's education didn't quite translate in Belgium. So despite being a university professor in her home country, she had to take on other work like cleaning homes to make ends meet.
My mom has university degrees. She used to be a teacher at the university before the war started and before we had to immigrate to Europe. And then imagine war happens in your country. Yeah. You have to immigrate to a new country where you don't know the language, and now your university degrees don't mean anything anymore. Yeah. Everyone discriminates you because they think you're somehow a stupid person because you're an immigrant. So you have to start from zero. So my mom, the first thing she did when we got into the immigration center was she got a job cleaning toilets at the thing, and she would get like $10 a week. $10 a week.
Another major struggle Liz opens up about early on is her relationship with her father. According to Liz, he was extremely controlling, especially when it came to her mother and finances.
My dad was a broke man. My dad had no ambition and he lived off of my mother. When he had the money that he was stealing from my mom and he wasn't giving her 1 cent, he was abusing her. He wasn't giving us any money and we literally lived in poverty because of him.
Liz has also spoken about the physical abuse that took place in their home. And I do want to give a quick heads up before we continue. This part may be triggering for some people, so please take care of yourself and skip ahead if you need to.
I remember like one instance with our father, like we were 12 years old, both of us.
I think the first time was I was 8 and you were 7.
Okay, so then that had happened and it was basically like my father was trying to take my sister's life
And I was sitting there and I had to plead for her life. So I was like, please, like, don't do this. And this went on for hours, guys. Like, it was night, like 5 hours.
Yeah, I was like, I'm dying today, and I was 8, so I was like,
yeah, and it was like, it's not like he was just threatening. Like,
no,
he literally put it against her throat and stuff, or like was like choking her with his knee against like her chest and stuff. And I was the only one that kind of like could like reason with him and be like, please let her live, this and that. And I was crying, and I think like when you both experience near-death experiences together, it really bonds you in a way that's like, you know, you always feel like you have to protect each other.
Hearing Liz and her sister talk about this so calmly is genuinely unsettling, especially given how extreme the situation actually was. It's one of those moments where you kind of have to pause and process what you just heard. Like, I genuinely can't wrap my head around children having to live through something like that. Even though we'll be critiquing Liz here and there, I think it's important to remember what she had to endure, and nothing said will take away from how serious and traumatic this was. Unfortunately, stories like this aren't as uncommon as we'd like to think. It's hard to sit with the reality that so many people, particularly young teens, grow up in tough or unsafe environments with very little support. And I think that's exactly why Liz connects so deeply with her audience. For many of her viewers, she's not just some content creator. She's someone who survived, who seems resilient, and who gives hope that things can actually get better. Now, to me, it comes across as trauma bonding a little bit. I'll be honest. Her story inspires me too, especially because I've been through similar things. But I also have to remind myself that at the end of the day, it's just a story I'm hearing through a screen from someone I've never met. I'm also very fortunate enough to have support in my own life that helps me keep that perspective. But not everyone has that kind of support. And when you don't, content like this can start to mean more than it probably should, which can get pretty tricky.
You can get free therapy. I mean, even this, what I'm giving you right now, it's free therapy. You just have to decide and you have to want to heal.
I've noticed that for many of Liz's viewers, her videos become more than just inspiration. They provide a sense of comfort and guidance that goes beyond what you'd expect from typical content. And I think you can see it pretty clearly in the comments. Liz saved me. No joke. She feels like talking to a real friend. Her bids equals free therapy. I feel sad reading these comments. For me, it's sort of a reminder that even though we're like supposedly more connected than ever, we're not really truly connected in the ways that matter. Because remember when we talked about manifestation culture being on a spectrum? I think what we're seeing here is how things can drift toward more of the complicated end, where the content isn't just inspiration anymore and starts becoming something it was never really meant to be. Because no matter how inspirational Liz and her story is, her videos can never be a substitute for real therapy. She's not a professional, and her content isn't made to replace the kind of help people actually need. But when people start using her content that way, I think it opens up this whole dynamic where Liz becomes more than just a content creator. It gets very messy because being someone's source of inspiration and support means you're expected to live up to standards that might even be higher than what you promote, whether it's fair or not. And this brings us right into the criticisms surrounding our girl, TheWizardLiz.
This is the last time you will walk with your hunchback like this, acting like you are not the shit, because you are. You should look at yourself and think, I am the shit.
One thing I've noticed about Bass success is that when it happens, the story people tell about why they think they succeeded tends to change. I think it's because when things move that quickly, you rarely have time to fully unpack what contributed to the success. So it can start to feel like it was all on you. And Liz, as the subject of this video, is no exception. As we just talked about, it's clear that a lot of people connected with her vulnerability, especially around her childhood trauma. But I don't think Liz has ever seen it that way. Sometimes it sounds like Liz attributes a lot of her success to mindset alone. To her, the idea that having the right mindset, the right discipline, and the right confidence is what ultimately manifested her success and brought people to her videos. Now, to be fair, mindset obviously plays a role. Being successful at anything usually requires, having your mind in the right place. But when that's the main explanation, it basically frames success as something that's almost entirely the result of personal discipline or doing the right thing. And while that's a really compelling narrative, it also very very much overlooks the other factors that shape how success actually happens. In my opinion, Liz's success had very little to do with mindset or strategy. Rather, I think a huge part of it was the emotional connection people felt with her. Viewers didn't just connect to her advice or videos specifically, they connected to a person. To her. And the more she framed her success as something she manifested, the more I think she lost the sight of the fact that her relatability and vulnerability is what made her successful. And this is something we can really see when we take a look at how her influencer career progressed over time. Because in my opinion, as her success quickly grew, I think Liz really started to struggle between wanting to motivate and help people while also trying to show that she's figured something out that others haven't. And at times, it came across as her putting herself above the people she's speaking to. One of the clearest examples of this, in my opinion, is the way Liz talks about regular jobs. For Liz, there's a sense that working a 9-to-5 is viewed as something to escape or rise above, rather than, a legitimate path to pursue.
If I'm being very honest, there's not a lot of people that will make it in life. And if I can go even further, it is not even 5% of people that will make it in life. There's only this 1% of people that will make it, that will become successful, and that will realize their purpose. What do I mean by this? I see a lot of people that never get anywhere or never accomplish anything. They're always reacting to life. So they won't really have goals, they just do things. For example, you just go to your job every day and you're just plugged into that system, but what are you actually doing? I'm just doing this job so I can wait until I have my pension and then just die. Because that's a miserable life, guys. Start thinking bigger. Open your mind.
Every single day I go online, see so many women say, money is not the most important thing. We shouldn't talk about money. Delusion. You work every single day. You go to a job every single day, a 9-to-5 that pays you $2,000 a month. Yeah. You have maybe 2 weeks in your life free to go on vacation. You're selling your whole body for a job that tomorrow will replace you if you drop dead. You love money more than me because you're giving your whole life up for that. I love freedom. I'm willing to work smart in order to gain more money so I can be free.
I get that working a 9-to-5 job doesn't quite have that same aesthetic as making $25,000 to $75,000 a month yelling into camera from inside a sports car, but come on, girl. I think it's a tiny bit out of touch coming from someone whose, highest level of education is high school, who never went to university, and has never even worked a traditional 9-to-5 career job. Especially when you consider that a lot of our audience are young women who are either putting in the effort studying in a school to get a 9-to-5 job or are already working one. Now, I think everyone can agree that focusing on your education to build a stable 9-to-5 career takes real dedication and hard work. And working that kind of job is a completely valid way to build, a life you can be proud of. So it makes you wonder what kind of message it sends when that path is talked about as a low level or less worthy option. The other thing I've noticed about fast success is that when someone blows up overnight, it can really expose their inner struggles, or sometimes even make them worse. For those who get famous quickly, there tends to be a gap between who they really are, who they want to be seen as, and who their audience expects them to be. And in my opinion, you can usually see this tension in the form of mixed messages, inconsistencies, or straight up contradictions. With Liz, this seems especially true the more she talks about men, money, and her so-called high value standards. I think we all know by now how much Liz emphasizes independence, probably because growing up, she felt like she had to rely on herself from an early age due to her abusive family situation. Seeing her father being controlling toward her mother, women making their own money is one of Liz's biggest talking points, even back when her content focused mostly about manifestation as empowerment. Early Liz talked about independence in a way that feels personal and relatable.
Think about what you want, try to think positively, but go for a walk. It really helps. It makes you feel better. The thing is, if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't find yourself worthy of care, the world will also not find you worthy of care. It's just how it is. And I don't make the rules. For people dealing with traumas and issues, I would suggest to not be in a relationship. I would suggest to really be alone. Focus on yourself and focus on your healing, because you are gonna bleed on people that didn't cut you. It's just the way it is.
But later on, Liz seems to take this idea to a whole new level, pretty much shouting it from the rooftops in a video titled, "Women Should Love Money."
I believe that women should love money. I love money, and I get so much backlash for this every single time I say this. Any single time I talk about any of my accomplishments or whatever, seen as not being humble. And I almost feel like just because you're a woman, you shouldn't talk about your accomplishments. You shouldn't show them because you're supposed to be humble and nice about it. But when a man does it, it's all okay. And when men are literally telling each other like, hey bro, this is how I made my money, so they can inspire other men to do it, that's all okay. That's also how men stay in power. Because men listen to other men. Men like other men. I really need women to get out of this delusion and stop telling other women that money is not important. Men want to lead the world. In order to lead a capitalistic society, you need money. Money is power. If a lot of women start focusing on money instead of the delusions that they're fed by society constantly, we would go to a matriarchy. A woman with money can walk away. A woman with money has power.
Right. From Liz's perspective, this messaging makes a lot of sense. Remember, this is a woman who grew up with a controlling, abusive father. So it's not hard to see why money for Liz becomes tied to things like safety, control, and the ability to walk away when a relationship goes sour. And now that she's found success on YouTube, Liz maybe feeling the need to make that point even louder. What's interesting though is that in another video posted right after this one, she casually admits that if social media hadn't worked out for her, she would have just found a partner to support her.
My plan was I'm gonna start a career on social media. That was my first plan. But then I also thought to myself, okay, if I have a relationship, I want my partner to be stable and to have enough money to take care of both of us, so that if my social media doesn't work out, I can rely on my partner.
Now, obviously, there is nothing wrong with traditional relationships where the man is the primary financial provider. Plenty of women choose to do that and are fine. I mean, it's interesting, given that her original message was focused on women not needing to depend on anyone, especially men, that she would admit that her backup plan is to depend on a man. But on its own, it's probably not that deep. The issue is that she doesn't really leave it there. What starts as her own perspective turns into pretty much open judgment, especially towards women who choose emotional connection over money.
Disney movies, romantic movies, who are they catered towards? Women. Since a young age, we tell young girls that, wow, there's this fairy tale love out there. And once you find that love, you'll be so good and so happy and all these things. And then when people actually get into relationships or they get married, they realize, what? This is not what I expected it to be. Men don't think like that because they don't watch these movies. Men think about money and stability. Why? That gives them the power. You think men focus on love? You think men sit there and think, oh, wow, I just want love. No, of course not. Do you think men go in a relationship with a woman that they don't find attractive? No. That is their minimum standard. You have to be beautiful. A lot of women that are not attractive do not find a partner. Okay. On top of that, cooking, cleaning, be his therapist, sleep with him whenever he wants, because otherwise he's gonna find somewhere else. All these things. Men have so many expectations from women. I know a woman that was together with him for 7 years, married for 3 years. He left her with nothing. And just one day like this, he just switched. Because you guys are always saying like, oh, you shouldn't go too fast. It's not. You can stay for 25 years with a man and you will not know who that person is. Do you guys think you ever know who someone really is? You cannot know. You can just hope for the best and hope that they don't betray you, they don't lie to you, or they don't hurt you. But how can you control that? How? You guys all like demonize me. Oh my God, she accepted 10K. She folded for 10K. You guys fold for a good morning text. You guys get turned on because a guy sends you good morning. That doesn't turn me on. No. I think, what can a man do for me? How can he provide for me? If the person that you're with cannot add on to whatever you already have, what's the point? I don't understand. What's the point? No, really, like, you guys are getting traumatized out here by guys that you have to pay for, and you're judging me. You're judging me. You're cooking for him. You're giving him wifey treatment. You're giving him everything. He doesn't give you 1 cent. Yeah? And then you're judging me. Please. Please. If you guys love these men without ambition so much, go be with them. There's enough of them. I'm not saying go for money in a partner, you know? I mean, that should be the bare minimum. Like, imagine a guy's loyal, but he literally doesn't have money. What do you have there? Like, my friend is in a situation like that where she's living with a guy, he's loyal, but he cannot pay rent, and he's video games all day, by the way. And she literally cannot stand him. Like, stuck in this situation, okay? And these are all such beautiful women that are just wasting their potential with someone that has nothing to offer for them. So their whole life is keep being stagnant and nothing is changing.
Yeah. I think this stopped being about manifestation a while ago. As you can imagine, this kind of messaging didn't go over too well with the girls. Girl, you lost the entire plot. It's so sad to see how she puts her friends' lives in such a bad way to show as an example, to make her seem above them all. No compassion whatsoever. Truly says a lot about her mentality. Stop giving people advice. It's really not that funny. Sorry, I shouldn't have laughed, but damn. I find this interesting because Liz's messaging feels powerful to women who clearly been hurt. She's been through a lot, and to me it sounds like she still carries insecurities around financial stability despite the level of success she's found on YouTube. And given her experiences with her father, it also seems like there's still some unresolved trauma around men. The way she talks about them feels very generalized, almost reducing them to what they can provide, rather than, you know, recognizing who they are as individuals. And I hate to be the one to say it, but men are people too. In any case, I'm not really sure how this messaging is supposed to help women in the long run. Like I said, I can see how it might resonate with women who feel like they're in survival mode or have been burned, trapped, or left financially vulnerable before. But beyond that, it starts to feel very black and white. Like either you choose love or financial stability, and if you prioritize emotional connection, then you're being naive or setting yourself up to fail. At this point in our story, the contradictions are mostly happening in Liz's messaging, and they're more or less easy to overlook because they're simply things Liz says, beliefs that she promotes, and advice that she gives. And despite how messy that messaging can be, Liz is still pulling in hundreds of thousands of views. But what I've noticed is that those contradictions start to feel a lot harder to ignore once you go past the messaging and look deeper into her history to understand more about how her success actually happened. And this leads us to Dubai.
In order to manifest your desires, date someone that is from the country that you want to live in, which is what I did. Like, I literally met my partner. He was living in this country and he was like, Liz, I want to get to know you better. Let's move you here.
He was a multi-millionaire. He was extremely wealthy and I was broke.
Remember when I said Liz filmed her very first video sitting on the floor of what seems to be the St. Regis Hotel? Well, for the uninitiated, the St. Regis is one of the most luxurious hotels in Dubai. From its lavish marble lobbies, exquisite fine dining, to its world-class service, the St. Regis is exactly where wealthy people go when they want to experience the best of the best in the city. Now, obviously, this video is not sponsored by the St. Regis Hotel, but girl, I kind of wish it was so I can get my phone back. Rooms at the St. Regis typically start around $500 a night, and that's just the beginning. Suites and penthouses can go for thousands, especially if you want to indulge in the breathtaking views of the city skyline or the Persian Gulf. I say all of this because it's the kind of place that most people only see in movies or on Instagram, since staying there is, well beyond the average budget. So knowing all this, it's a little surprising to see Liz filming her first video right there, sitting on the floor, like it's just any other spot, and rocking designer handbags in the lobby, no less. I think people seeing Liz being able to afford this kind of lifestyle so early in her career led many people question the story she tells about starting from nothing. Let's just say that's not something you see very often, especially considering she was only 22 at the time. In a now deleted podcast with her sister, Liz revealed that when she was 19, she moved to Dubai to be with her then boyfriend Peter, who she met online. But what's interesting is, based on how she describes him, he doesn't seem like someone she seemed very excited about.
When I met Peter was such a cringy man. Like, I was shocked when I met Peter at the airport. I did not know, is Peter 30 years old or 13? Okay? He was wearing a Bulldog's cap, but he was wearing a scrunched up polo that was 12 years old.
Yeah.
So I was like, what is that? And I was like, okay.
And how are you looking?
oh, I was very beautiful, like extremely beautiful queen goddess, you know? Like when Peter saw me, Peter couldn't believe his eyes. Peter was like, damn, how did I get so lucky? And he told me he immediately fell in love, you know? And but then the issue was when I started like hanging out with Peter the next day, we went to the pool together. And I was like sleeping at my own bed on the pool, and he was on his own bed because, you know, I didn't want to communicate with him. And I am ordering like water for myself. Okay, it was very hot. He had abs, but he was very skinny. And I like some chubby men. I was like laying down on my sunbed, tanning, whatever, and he was like a little bit behind me, right? On his own bed. And I'm ordering water with the waiter. And Peter notices this, and then Peter, all of a sudden, I'm like ordering, and then when the waiter goes, I hear behind me, and then I look behind, and I'm thinking to myself, listen, this man is so cringe, okay? Pray to God. I look behind, and I'm like, what do you want? And then he goes like, shouldn't you order something for me too, my dear? Shouldn't you ask if I want something? Anyways, I'm gonna swim, okay? So I'm thinking, I'm gonna swim this off. If I swim, I can swim home maybe. So at the pool, I'm swimming, yeah? And then I'm swimming, and these two beautiful girls, they notice me. And they're like, hey, you're so beautiful. And I was like, Mom, thank you. I'm like, you guys are so beautiful. And then I start talking to them. So we're having conversation, we're talking about life, this and that. And then my worst nightmare begins. If I would have had one time in my life that I would have liked to drown, that was the time, okay? I see something coming towards me. And I was thinking, I pray to God this is a crocodile that wants to eat me.
In the pool.
Yes.
The crocodile
but
in the pool.
It was not a crocodile. It was Peter. Peter was coming towards me. But Peter had green swimming trunks where his gender was revealed because the trunks were so short, because Peter didn't change his swimming trunks since he was 8, I think. He comes out like this, like a mermaid.
Oh my
God. He looks at the girls, he puts his goggles off, he says, what are we talking about, ladies? I swear to God, everyone went quiet. I'm embarrassed, by the way. I never want to be seen with Peter ever again. The next day we're at the pool again, we see these girls again. Peter goes, oh, hey, Liz, your friends are over there. You want to say hi? I said, let's go. Let's take the back exit so they never see me again. I was so embarrassed.
Hearing Liz describe Peter like this is a little funny, but honestly a bit confusing. If he really came off as that cringe to her, it sort of makes you wonder what made the relationship worth uprooting her entire life for in the first place. A question that soon gets explained to us when Liz later mentions that Peter was a multimillionaire.
My first boyfriend ever, when I was 19, he was a multi-millionaire. He was extremely wealthy and I was broke. And he would sometimes give me money, but like literally nothing in compared to what he has. And with that money, I needed to buy dresses to look good on the dates, whatever. So basically, I was still broke after that.
Peter sounds like a great guy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, it sounds like my ideal guy.
You know, I did fall in love with him. It took a few Chanel bags. It took a few transfers to my account. And then I was like, you know what? I might actually like this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it also helps explain why this podcast has since been deleted and why Liz rarely, if ever, talks about Peter publicly. At 19 years old, coming straight out of high school, and again, having spoken openly about growing up with financial stability, it's reasonable to assume she didn't have the means to fully support herself at that point. Peter, on the other hand, was a multimillionaire and well past his 30s. So at the very least, there was a clear financial imbalance in this relationship. This has been one of the main things people have criticized Liz for, not just because it contradicts her messaging around independence and self-sufficiency, but also because it sort of feels, you know, at odds with the idea of starting from nothing and building everything on your own. I mean, starting from nothing usually doesn't involve luxury hotels and designer bags paid for by a filthy rich boyfriend, but hey, I guess we all have different definitions of nothing. And because of the circumstances, you know, meeting online, moving to Dubai, the age gap, and the city's reputation, some people online began to speculate about the nature of that relationship. Some rumors suggested that Liz may have been in a sugar baby type arrangement with Peter, with others making more extreme assumptions about escorting, mostly based on the fact that Liz seemed to have spent long periods living in luxury hotels. And to be clear, these are just rumors that circulated online, not facts. Liz is aware of these rumors and clearly not happy about it.
I was signed, I started making money from YouTube 4 years ago. After my first video community went viral, I have around 20 million followers on my other social media platforms that if this was a man with that many followers, no one was questioning where this money came from. But because I'm a successful woman that put myself out from zero, people have credit my success back.
It's the Wizard Liz. I have seen her many times at the 5 Palm and whatever. You're ugly. Let's start there. Like, you could not pay me to look at you even, let alone sleep with you. You're just online saying stuff and yapping, but come with proof. Because maybe your mother is also a sex worker and we don't know. So I can also say that your mom's a sex worker. You're ugly as f***. You're too old to be talking this shit. Put a shirt on and show me proof.
So my hot take is that this is a pretty valid crash out. Now, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with work. It's just that I think it's a bit mean to treat unverified gossip as a full story of someone's life. This is a bit different. My other hot take is that I think all this focus on the sugar baby and escorting rumors kind of misses the bigger picture. I mean, in what world does a 19-year-old with a much older, wealthier boyfriend not being taken advantage of in some way? Especially when you consider that apparently at one point when Liz and Peter had broken up, her mom made her go back to him.
So, you know, after a year, no, my mom had to force me to go back. But
Now, I think this is a good time to pause here and remind you to please take a second before you compare your life to young people who look like they've made it, because I think it's fair to say that there's always more going on than what you can see, and nothing comes without a price. The situation with Peter clearly had layers, but at the same time, it opens the door to bigger questions about Liz, because for whatever reason, these kinds of relationships seem to keep manifesting in Liz's life.
Hello, everyone.
do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Alfredo.
Alfredo is Liz's second known boyfriend. He was the boyfriend she was with when she was first starting out on YouTube. Now, unlike Peter, Alfredo was not a multimillionaire. However, according to Liz, he came from a stable family with both parents still together, was educated at the University of London, and for the most part had a pretty cushy upbringing. Now, Alfredo is interesting to me because while he didn't have Peter-level wealth, he still financially supported Liz, like paying for her apartment at the time, her therapy, and other expenses. I'm sure you're starting to notice a pattern here with the type of men Liz tends to get involved with. It seems like Liz gravitates towards men where there's some level of financial benefit, especially in major relationships. In fact, Liz isn't shy about admitting that herself, once proudly declaring in an Instagram story, "I don't care what anyone says, but no man is worth my time or energy unless I benefit financially." Well, I guess she doesn't leave that open to interpretation, does she? I think it's comments like this that have fueled a lot of the recent negative perception around Liz and her manifestation mindset, because it sort of confirms what critics have been saying all along, that her advice might actually just be bullshit. Sorry for the jump scare. In all seriousness, the discourse around Liz's financial transparency isn't so much about money as it is about consistency. People argue that being financially supported by a man, especially during times when she wasn't making income, doesn't exactly line up with her independence messaging. I mean, how independent can you really be if your lifestyle depends on someone else's money? And this is where I think Liz's take on independence gets, flexible depending on the context. For Liz, sometimes independence means grinding on YouTube and manifesting your dream life, and sometimes it means letting someone else cover the bills while you do it. In this specific context with Peter and Alfredo, it's not about hypocrisy for Liz, but all about manifesting what she calls a high-value woman. And I'm sure you've heard of that term before. High-value woman and high-value man are terms that have been pretty popular in self-improvement and dating spaces. There are countless of guides and videos online teaching people how to become one. They're used to describe people who are, well, apparently successful, accomplished, or, just know their worth, because obviously human beings are collectible items. When people talk about a high-value woman, they usually mean someone who is physically attractive and well-groomed, lives a luxurious or elevated lifestyle, and surrounds herself with the quote-unquote right people. In relationships, a high-value woman is someone who is pursued, financially supported, and chosen by a man with status and money. In my opinion, there's a lot of mental gymnastics when it comes to the whole high-value system, especially around independence. Because for high-value women, independence is having the power to choose a man that provides for you and your own terms, since, you're so beautiful, desirable, and apparently irreplaceable. And that's probably how Liz justifies her relationships with Peter and Alfredo. If Liz sees herself as a high-value woman, then relying on men like Peter or Alfredo wouldn't feel like dependence to her. It would feel like exercising choice. The problem with this high-value system, in my opinion, though, is that it's a bit insecure. From my experience, people who really believe in this high-value system tend to be very insecure people. And I don't say that to be rude. Obviously, having standards and self-respect when it comes to people you get into relationships with is totally normal and healthy. It's just that when your self-worth becomes tied to things like how much money you make, how much someone spends on you, the type of people you attract, who has access to you, or even as small as how you come across to others, it starts to look like you're constantly seeking external validation. It seems like you're putting a lot of your sense of self in how wealthy you appear or how impressive you seem, rather than being grounded in who you actually are. And because people who buy into the high-value system are so focused on status and appearances, relationships are naturally very shallow and short-lived. In my opinion, that's pretty much how things went with Liz and Alfredo. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Alfredo was a boyfriend Liz was with during her early days on YouTube, and her growing success pretty much marked the end of their relationship. According to Liz, Alfredo became insecure when Liz started making more money than him.
With my ex, when we first started out the relationship, I didn't have any money. I was already doing TikTok, I was already doing everything, but I wasn't really making money. But then 6 months into the relationship, I was doing YouTube and I went immediately viral. And then he was making like 10K a month. Okay. He was doing finance. He was making 10K a month. And I went from making nothing to all of a sudden like making 20K. Now I'm making 40K. Now I'm making 70K, and then more and more and more. And then he's seeing that. He's seeing how much I'm growing and how fast. And for him, said it to me. He was like, I feel like I can't do anything for you anymore. I feel like you make too much money. And he said, like, I'm not comfortable in the position where you're making more money than me, because he's like, I don't think I can impress you anymore.
Liz also started to notice traits she didn't like about him, like being clingy, controlling, and overall cringy.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I have a little life update for you guys. So basically, I decided to end my relationship with my partner. My ex-partner is the kind of person, he doesn't have friends. Like, he's very antisocial. He doesn't like socializing. Like, for him, it's me and him together, that's it. Like, he doesn't need anyone else, and he's very clingy. So he constantly needs me around everywhere, or calls me or whatever.
This guy called me 30 times a day, okay? He called me 30 times a day. He would stalk me wherever I would go. I was paranoid. Like, when a guy would come up to me on the street and ask for my number, I would literally start tweaking. That's how scared I was. And I realized this is not normal. Like, it's not that I was scared because he was abusive or something. It was just, I was scared because I felt like he might do something if someone asking me for something, or if a guy was like just talking to me, okay? I attracted my ex-partner that was exactly a replica of my father. In the beginning it was great, and then it turned out to be he's just like my dad. I almost felt like I was recreating my mother's and father's relationship with my ex-partner.
But above all, he had apparently done the worst thing imaginable in her eyes. Lied about his finances.
Ex spent almost all of his money on me, so much that he got into debt. So then also like our relationship dynamics started to become very weird, or they start being like, oh, I have financial issues and this and that. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And with my ex, like I gave him money even when we broke up because he was telling me he had financial issues.
Now, what I find interesting is that none of these things Liz says about Alfredo are minor issues. I don't know about you, but lying about your finances, taking on debt to keep up appearances, and reminding her of negative qualities about her father are pretty serious red flags. It's really hard to believe that those things materialized the moment he got insecure, and yet they only seemed to fully register for Liz once she started earning more. Now, I guess one could argue that maybe she just wasn't noticing them before, but what's even more interesting though is that Liz still chose to stay friends with Alfredo after they broke up.
Listen, guys, you keep interrupting each other. Listen, I'll tell you one thing, yeah? If it was a zombie apocalypse, you both would have been eaten and killed by now.
At that point, girl, what? If he was reminding you of your father's worst traits, staying in contact seems strange, to say the least. Personally, I wouldn't want anything to do with an ex who brought that kind of baggage into my life, but that's just me. To me, what this shows is that Liz is the type of person who prioritizes her idea of success at all costs. When it comes to relationships, she seems more focused on what a partner can do for her life than on who they are as a person or the actual connection between them. That means even glaring issues like Peter's cringe or Alfredo's sketchy behavior don't necessarily matter if the relationship still serves her version of success. Now, I think Liz sees this as ambition, knowing what she wants and not wanting to settle for less. And to be fair, in many ways, it is ambition. After all, it's what she thinks got her ahead. But when ambition becomes such a core part of your identity, it almost always demands external validation. Which brings us to Liz's most recent relationship with Landon Nickerson. Or should I say, Landon Cheaterson. If you know, you know. The story of Landon and Liz is so interesting to me that it almost makes me giddy to talk about it. Because if everything before was about ambition and believing you attract what you are, the story of Liz and Landon feels like manifestation working, let's just say, a little too well. Prior to Landon, it feels like Liz reached a point with her ex Alfredo where she believed she could just do better. As her YouTube platform grew and her success expanded, she seemed to see herself as operating at a different level and wanted someone who matched her new standard. Someone more established, more accomplished, someone richer. And it seems like that's what Landon was for Liz. Now, unlike Alfredo, but conveniently like Peter, Landon is allegedly a multimillionaire. He started on YouTube making gaming content and, like Liz, found major success to the point where he was allegedly making around $2 million a year. And after his time on YouTube, he moved on to launch a tech company called Arc, which is allegedly valued at $40 million. Based on her track record, that sounds exactly like Liz's type of man, am I right? Allegedly, of course. In all seriousness, I think Liz actually liked Landon other than the financial checkboxes he seemed to tick. And you can tell from the way she describes him.
You know, guys, the one thing I love the most about Landon is how smart he is. Like, this is no joke. His brain is like insane. I have so much respect for your brain and the way you think and the way you are. Like, if I were to describe a man that really knows how to be a man in a non-toxic way and knows how to respect a woman, I would literally describe you.
Like, I literally think I manifested you.
Yeah.
Like, you're the perfect girl for me. And I always wanted to be the perfect guy for a girl like you.
I love you.
I love you too.
Aw, young love. How sweet. I think this seems to be one of the first times, if not the first relationship Liz has been in where financial security wasn't like the utmost priority for Liz. At this point, Liz had built her own platform and her own income on YouTube. She didn't need someone to help bankroll her lifestyle, which meant she could actually focus on compatibility, on Landon's personality and whatever intellect he may or may not possess. Revolutionary. I know. In any case, Liz and Landon's relationship felt like a dream, and they pretty much made sure we knew it. They made TikToks together, filmed travel vlogs, and shopping sprees. And within just a couple months of hard launching their relationship, they were engaged!
Hi guys, welcome back to a new video of mine, and this is not clickbait, it's very real. I am getting married and I am engaged. That's crazy to even hear that from myself or to even think about that. I will explain to you guys how I got to this point, what happened, and how this situation just proves to me even more how I'm always being guided and how you have to look out for the signs in life and how manifestation and setting your energy onto something really attract.
Now, I have some thoughts on that. Call me cynical, but I tend to feel a bit skeptical when a relationship is showcased that heavily online, especially when it's moving at like lightning speed. It's one thing to be a new couple and be excited about each other, right? And it's another thing to be social media personalities just making content. But when you throw an engagement in there, it can feel a little bit too performative, especially for someone like Liz, whose brand has always been about leveling up and at times proving that she has. And then there's the way they met, which of course was just as perfect.
I met Landon 3 years ago. And we met online. He was the first man to ever approach me online and to congratulate me on my YouTube success and to say how proud he was of me. And he was so sweet. And I remember 3 years ago checking out his Instagram profile, seeing some pictures, and I thought, oh, it's a cute guy. But I just thought he's sweet. He recommended a book that I should read because it really helped him as well. And he was really into the same ideology as me. After that, we went a little back and forth. But then after that, I stopped answering really because I was getting into a relationship with my previous partner. And I didn't think that was appropriate. We stopped really contact. However, the years following, Landon would always like send me a message or try to congratulate me whenever I had accomplished something big, or whenever I was even going through something, he would always send me like encouraging messages. And that was just so sweet. And everything like went its own direction, went its own ways. One day I just decided, you know what, right now I'm gonna take the manifestation journal that I created and I am gonna write in this manifestation journal a partner that I want to attract. I was gonna write it in a way that we were already married, and I wrote down what kind of characteristic he has. So I was like, oh, I'm so grateful for my husband. He's so deep. He's so intelligent. Knows a lot of emotional intelligence, and we connect very well. And I wrote all of these things down that I appreciate in him and that I want my future husband to have, but I wrote it down as if it's already happened. And then I closed the book, I put it back, and that's it. Now, there's one thing about me. When I try to manifest a relationship, I get it like this. Like a partner is like this for me. And the reason why is because there is no desperation for it. I've never had desperation for a romantic partner or being with a man. I've never had that. And because I don't have that desperate energy going towards it, it comes to me very easily. I know a lot of women in my life that always try to look for a partner, try to look for love, and that's like that whole goal, and they never attract it. And they then ask me like, Liz, how come you attract it so easily, like whenever you want? And it's like, I don't have that desperation for it. Like, that's why it comes to me. All of a sudden, I decided, let me book a trip to Santorini with my friend. So I did that. I booked a trip, all these things. And we had a flight to Santorini, but there was a stop in Athens because I had booked last minute and all the flights were full. Okay, they were full. So me and my friend, we go to the airport, and mind you guys, I'm wearing a cap that's like up until here. You can barely see, you can see like this of my nose, and I'm wearing a mask, okay? No one could recognize me. I think probably people couldn't even recognize what gender I was. I'm walking in the airport and we stop in Athens. Me and my friend, we quickly go get like some food and stuff. And we go to this place that's like, you have to go through the perfume section, and there's like this place you can sit, okay? So we sit down there quickly, and then we're like, okay, after that, we're gonna go to the gate. So me and her were sitting, And I'm like, I pulled the mask a little bit just to eat my food. This is how much you can see of my face, okay? Like nothing. I'm sitting and all of a sudden I hear Liz. I look up and I'm like, Landon. And guys, I do not know how he recognized me. I do not know how I recognized him. I've never seen this guy in my life, never in real life. I don't know what he looks like, and he definitely didn't look like how he used to look 3 years before. That's the only time I saw his picture. And I don't know how, I literally don't know, you could not see my face, how he recognized me. When he came to sit down next to me, I looked at him, and the first thing I thought is, why does this guy look so much like me? That kept going through my head. Like, we have the same eyes and all these things. And I was like, why does he look like me? And then I felt such a strong energy from him. And I'm a person, I'm very intuitive, so I feel things. I don't really think, I feel. So I'm sitting in front of him, and it was almost like we're sitting and he's talking to me, and everyone else started to become noise. We were almost like the only one in the airport, and I felt like such a strong energy overcome me. And I looked at him, and I've never had that feeling with anyone that I saw, and I was like, whoa, I'm actually shook. And then he starts telling me about why he's there, because he lives in America. Like, what are the odds of us meeting each other in an airport in Athens? What are the odds, guy? Like, I don't live in Europe. He lives in America. Like, that's crazy. So he was telling me he was supposed to go to Mykonos, but his friends had just scammed him or whatever, and they had canceled on him. So he's like, yeah, I'm going back to America. But he's like, I forgot my bag where you were sitting. That's why I came back for my bag. Guys, can you imagine the coincidence here? You know, look how divinely guided that is. I look at him, and he was telling his story, and I go like, you know, I felt bad for him. So I was like, listen, instead of like going back to America, if you want, you can join me and my friend on our trip to Santorini. We're staying in this hotel. Like, you can also book a villa there if you want to. We've never been, so we can explore together. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, okay. Then me and my friend, we both went to Santorini, and he arrived 2 hours later. And yeah, me and him were inseparable ever since, like literally the first day we connected and started talking to each other when we were both in Santorini. We couldn't stop talking about marriage. We couldn't stop talking about starting a family, and which is crazy because I've never been the person to want to commit to someone. I've never been the person to want to start a family or feel like, oh, I want to start a family with this person. I've never felt safe enough to do that. But there was something within him that made my inner child feel so safe. And what's even crazier is like, he told me like stories where he was like, Liz, I think I really manifested you, because he was like, when I used to go through breakups or whatever, I used to tell my best friend, it doesn't matter that I'm going through this breakup, because there's still women like TheWizardLiz out there. And he was like, you were literally in my head the ideal woman ever since I saw you online. And guys, for me, the exact thing that I wrote down in the manifestation journal of how I want my husband to be and all these things is literally my fiance, like to a T. Even the thing about emotional intelligence and knowing how to be deep, which was so important to me because I missed that in my previous relationships. I've never met someone that I can just talk to for hours and that can meet me on an intelligence level or a deep level. Like, he understands everything that I say, and he is so highly intelligent. I really value that a lot in a partner. You know, I used to talk to my therapist about not wanting children and not wanting marriage and all these things. And she used to tell me, Liz, when you meet that right person, you're gonna want that, because you just don't want children or a family because you have not met a man where you feel safe with yet. And then I was like, I don't know, that's not true. But then I swear, guys, when I met Landon, immediately I thought I would want a family with this guy. And he also told me immediately when we hanged out in Santorini, I knew you were going to be my wife. He's like, I became so protective over you already because I knew this is my wife immediately when I saw you. Also, when choosing a partner or someone to have children with, I make that decision very, very
clearly, and I think about it a lot because I want my children to look up to their father, and I want to have a great example for them. Because I know that I'll try to do my best to give them the best life that I can.
Right. Remember when we talked about fast success and how it can make you blind to certain things, which can create problems you don't see until later? I think it's pretty obvious to say that fast love can do the same. And one of the quickest ways to accelerate toward a train wreck, in my opinion, is to call your relationship something that was manifested or destiny, especially when you're saying that within literally a few months of meeting each other. Because when people frame a relationship as manifestation or destiny that early, it's usually unhealed parts of them speaking very loudly. I know, because I used to think like this too. Like Liz, when something felt intense and overwhelming, I also mistook that rush feeling for fate. If it felt big or dramatic enough, I also told myself it had to mean something and that I was special. And in my opinion, I think it comes from a very specific kind of insecurity. The kind of insecurity that comes from a childhood where you didn't always feel seen or prioritized. Because when you grow up carrying that feeling and haven't fully worked through it, any kind of Landon type guy can feel really validating to yourself and other people. At least, that's from my experience. When a relationship is built on rush, validation, and a perfect narrative, it doesn't take much for cracks to show. And in Liz's case, they showed pretty quickly. Girl, they were pretty big cracks. In May 2025, Liz announced on her Instagram that she was cheated on by Landon. I will never create a fake narrative on social media. I will not preach something and not take the advice myself. Landon decided to make a Snapchat account and reach out to a girl to meet up. He was just with me in London, made a whole book about how much he loves me. Anyways, the girl reached out to me and my friend today and showed us evidence. He called the relationship fake. Meanwhile, my cats are with him in Dallas. All my stuff is there in our apartment. And oh, I'm 4 months pregnant. He says he's incredibly sorry, but honestly, I feel like I don't know him at all. I feel stupid for ignoring the signs and dreams I had. I even told him about, and he told me I was crazy. Men want to lead the world and can't even control their lust. It's weak. A man that can't control his lust will never be able to lead. I'm absolutely heartbroken and shocked. My haters can go celebrate. Haha, so funny. I will always have the last laugh though. He lost everything and I gained everything. This happened a while ago, but it's something that lives in my head rent free, because one minute it's manifesting your one true love at an airport, and the next minute he's messaging girls on Snapchat and being 4 months pregnant. In any case, I think it's really hard not to feel for Liz watching her talk about what had happened. Regardless of how she may come across online, I think we can all agree that no one deserves this level of betrayal. I mean, the girl was cheated on while pregnant and very publicly engaged a fool who was telling other women what they had was just a complicated long distance internet thing. And that no, they weren't really married or together. And that the engagement ring he wore was quote unquote just for a video. And yes, the same video that the seemingly happy couple released titled Q&A with my husband.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, I decided to do a video with my husband.
Before we get into questions, I actually want to say something. So, look, I don't think any relationship is 100% perfect. I think that a lot of YouTubers will come on and they'll do like a Q&A about a relationship and they're just gonna make it look like everything is rainbows and butterflies. At the end of the day, you get into relationships to grow. And a marriage, in my opinion, and I think we agree on this. Do you not want me to say that?
No, I want you to say whatever you want.
Okay. A marriage is about...
It's a safe space.
That's a safe space. I think the purpose of life is creation and evolution. So you get together in a relationship with someone, you get married, you create together, you create success, a family, and then you evolve together. I had this overwhelming sense that I was going to marry you and that you were like the answer to my prayers in so many ways. And you're literally like, I feel like I manifested you.
Yeah. That aged very poorly. And because of that, it was pretty much over for Landon. People were very much on Liz's side, showing their support for the manifestation queen. The memes dragged him. Comment sections turned into group therapy sessions. It was unanimous outrage at first, because unsurprisingly enough, in a turn of events, that energy quickly changed. And I think one of those events was Landon opening his mouth.
Look, I'm not going to come on here and ask for your forgiveness. I'm just going to come on here and ask for understanding, because I made a mistake
But that doesn't mean that I don't love Liz. I love her with my entire heart, and we have a baby on the way. And over the last 10 months, I have done everything I can to give this person all that I can and to make her happy and do all of this. And regardless of how much I care, I made a mistake. And in the middle of texting somebody I should not be texting, in this moment of weakness, like seeking validation, and it's just a bad behavior that I can't believe I did it. But in the moment that I was doing it, I messaged that person that I was sorry and that it was wrong. And I prayed to God that night for strength and clarity and to never do that again. That is not who I want to be. It is not what I thought I was stronger than this. I thought I was smarter than this. And I let something build up inside of me that I indulged in. And it is weak and it is despicable. And in this, I'd like to just take full accountability. I'm not trying to, I don't think this should have been aired out, honestly. And there's so much, oh my God, there's so much to say that I am not going to say. But I'm taking accountability regardless. This is not something that I want to promote or make seem like I identify with. This is not who I want to be, and I'm sorry. I don't know how I could be such a fucking idiot at times. Like throughout my life, there are times where I just do things that I know I shouldn't. And I learn, but I shouldn't have to learn this way. So I'm sorry. The final thing I'm going to say, and then I'll probably delete these. I love Liz more than I could even put words to, and I've shown her this, and I've tried my best to make her feel safe and happy and protected. And while yes, I made this mistake, I want to be a great man, and I'm not there yet, but I know that a great man is one that takes accountability. I know that a great man is somebody who makes a mistake and then can be forthcoming honestly. And although I felt bad, like I should have just said, hey, I've done this thing. I feel very bad about it. I'm sorry. Like, I know what I did was wrong and this is not going to happen again, and I'm sorry.
This was Landon's statement regarding the situation. And as you can see, it's really quite something. To be honest, watching Landon apologize like this really infuriates me. Asking the public to understand you because you apparently love Liz with all your heart, while your actions say the complete opposite, is wild to me. Especially when those actions include downgrading the relationship to a quote-unquote complicated internet thing while she's carrying your damn child. Like, bruh, come on. The reason Landon's apology mattered so much is that it made people start questioning Liz and her advice. It was clear that Landon's words were so laughable, detached, and just so unserious that it wasn't just him on blast anymore. People began scrutinizing Liz's judgment, wondering how someone she manifested could act like this. And since Liz's brand is all about discernment, high standards, and aspiration, Landon just became the ultimate contradiction that was too big to ignore. Especially when, even by Liz's own account, Landon had glaring red flags she had overlooked.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will tell you guys how you can get cheated on, because I just got cheated on.
In a video titled How to Get Cheated On, Liz reveals that when she looks back on the manifested, dreamy Mykonos trip, the same trip she invited him on after first meeting him at the airport, she now recognizes his controlling tendencies and admits she felt unsure about him at the time. Basically, Liz reveals that she had doubts about Landon from the beginning. And yet, because he was so persistent and even apparently gave her $10,000 to talk to him, Liz decided to essentially give him a chance.
Landon was really nice. Everything was great. He was very kind, super sweet, super gentleman-like. But then there was a moment where we went out and there was a Asian guy that wanted to talk to me and get to know me, and he thought I was really cute. Going outside for a talk, and Landon did not like that at all. And then basically followed us outside, and he got really upset with me, and he was like,
why are you doing this? Don't talk to him. And these two guys almost got in a fight over me. And I then got a little bit of like, ooh, that was a red flag for me, because I thought, you're just like my ex, very controlling, very jealous. When I saw that behavior from Landon, I really thought to myself, this is not for me. And I really thought, like, after that, like, let's just stay friends and let's just focus on being friends and that's it. But Landon really wanted me. And I went back home with my friend and I was just going on with my life. And Landon kept messaging me, and I just wouldn't really respond anymore because I didn't want to give him any hope. Or he would message my friend and she also wouldn't really reply. And then I remember one day he called me and I did pick up and I was like, hey, what's up? And then he was like, look, I really want you to be my wife. Like, I just know you're supposed to be my wife. And he's like, I want to do anything for you. Like, I want to take care of you. Like, send me your bank account details or your PayPal. Like, I want to prove to you that I really want to do anything for you. So I was like, okay, let me do it. Let's see what he does. And then he sent me $10,000. And then I thought, wow, like, he's literally sending me $10,000 so I would reply to his messages. And then I thought, wow, like, maybe I should give him a chance because look how, like, what he's doing, like a big thing to do, you know what I mean? And it's not even that I cared about the money. I don't, because I gave all that money to my fans on Instagram. It's not about the money. It was more like, oh, wow, like he does this big thing.
I want to take a moment for any younger viewers out there to remind you that no well-adjusted man would pay a woman any amount of money to talk to him again. I think it's one thing for a man to give you gifts like flowers, a thoughtful dinner, or something meaningful to express that he genuinely cares about you. But if he feels the need to use money to secure access to you, especially if you've pulled away, that's someone who genuinely doesn't respect boundaries. It's someone who doesn't take no for an answer and will try to bulldoze you to get their way. In my opinion, for Landon specifically, it just reeks of insecurity. He doesn't trust that his personality, character, or compatibility alone will win Liz over. So instead of building a connection, the normal way, he supplements it with money. And speaking of money, I think part of what made Landon's $10,000 gesture seem so grand and persuasive to Liz was the image of wealth attached to it. It fed into Liz's fantasy. Landon was a successful, generous, high-value man who can casually drop 5 figures for her without blinking. But dropping $10,000 once doesn't mean someone is necessarily wealthy. It could just mean that they had access to $10,000 at that moment. And those are two very, very different things. Speaking of which, recently Liz revealed that Landon had apparently lost all his money. In a TikTok, she posted a video of herself with the caption, "No revenge needed because every person that betrayed me ended up losing all their money." And when a commenter asked directly whether that meant Landon had gone bankrupt, Liz replied, "Both my exes did after they lied to me." Now, this detail is both really interesting and confusing to me because, first of all, this is a man who claimed to be making $2 million a year on YouTube and had a company allegedly valued at $40 million. I don't know about you, but that's not small money or casual influencer income. That's the kind of wealth that shouldn't just evaporate overnight, let alone within a year. So the fact that it did raises questions, to say the least. Second of all, the idea that he lost all of his money after betraying Liz feels pretty questionable as well. I mean, let's be real. It's hard to see how she could have manifested that. I think that both these questions can only be answered by looking into how Landon got his wealth in the first place. So that's just what we're gonna do. In one of their travel vlogs together, Liz mentions that Landon is self-made, and that part seems to be true. From everything publicly available, Landon doesn't appear to have come from generational wealth or extreme privilege. In fact, back when he was still a child, it looked like he was streaming video games from a modest middle-class home. But all of that seemed to change for Landon during the pandemic. Now, during the pandemic, video game content was at an all-time high. Many people were tuning in to watch creators playing video games like never before. One of the games that exploded in popularity at the time was a battle royale shooter game called Fortnite, and Landon was very much part of that scene. Like Liz, Landon quickly found success on YouTube with Fortnite, racking up millions of views per upload, and with uploads almost every day, you can imagine he was making very serious money. You know what? Actually, you don't have to imagine it because Landon pretty much wanted everyone to know.
Hit or miss, huh? You've never ever had a girl they've never kissed. Yeah, you're shooting shots at your king. Well, you missed, bruh. 7 out of 10, not even impressed, nah.
Yeah, I had to watch that, so now you do too. I guess we're trauma bonded now. What stands out to me about Landon's alleged wealth at this time is that he seemed to grow it by giving a lot of it away. And what I mean by that is that he did things like
gifted people battle passes. I think I've gifted more than $10,000 worth of battle passes. Another memorable moment some of you may remember is when I bought Pokimane the Galaxy skin. There was this like a limited edition skin that you could only get if you got this tablet. I bought it, I sent it to her, but it is safe to say one of the most viral things that I did, most inspired moment in Fortnite was when I decided to buy 1 million V-Bucks. For those of you guys who don't know, this was a very long and expensive process. I basically had to go and spend a few $100s every single day buying 13,000 V-Bucks at a time. Basically do 1 million divided by 13,000, get that number, multiply it by 100, because by the way, the first time I bought 1 million V-Bucks, Fortnite was still charging $100 per 13,000 rather than, I think it's $80 now. So thanks, Fortnite. Essentially, I just streamed myself playing Fortnite, buying V-Bucks for about 20 days until we hit the 1 million V-Bucks mark. Not only was I the first person to buy 1 million V-Bucks once, I'm also the only person to buy 1 million V-Bucks twice.
As someone who was also part of the pandemic gaming communities at the time, this is incredibly fascinating to me. Usually creators who blow up playing video games during the pandemic, especially Fortnite, were actually good at the game and had some sort of personality. Take Ninja, for example, the Fortnite Twitch streamer, who basically became mainstream famous overnight. Ninja was insanely good at the game. So good, in fact, that he was the first player in the world to reach 5,000 wins. And then there's Landon, the first player in the world to buy 1 million V-Bucks, I guess. I'm sorry, but the difference is sending me. During his rise as a Fortnite YouTuber, Landon clearly spent big, both on his career and on his lifestyle. Whether it was massive in-game giveaways, expensive sports cars, a fancy penthouse apartment in Dallas, let's just say he definitely enjoyed the finer things in life.
I'm the GOAT. The greatest you know.
One thing I've noticed is that in situations like this, it's really easy for people to start living beyond their means. When money comes in fast, especially during a sudden wave of success, lifestyle creep can come just as quickly if you're not careful. Now, if you're a young guy like Landon who's never seen or made that kind of money before, it probably feels endless in the moment. But the thing about moments like that is, well, they're often just that. Moments. The hype around the game and around Landon's content only lasted a little over a year. His spending habits, however, seemed to have lasted longer than that. Habits which kind of show us how someone could lose millions of dollars so quickly. After his short run on Fortnite, Landon pivoted almost immediately into a different venture. One that seemed like a bigger, more permanent step forward.
Giving you a bit of insight into my startup company, ARC. A quick catch up, ARC is my startup I started 18 months ago, almost 18 months ago, and we're focused on spatial computing, particularly spatial infrastructure.
Landon launched ARC, an augmented reality startup company centered around a smart ring product. Now, augmented reality, or AR, has already become popular in gaming spaces at the time. A big example is Pokemon Go, which, as you can probably remember, had people like roaming around glued onto their phones trying to catch Pokemon. I certainly was. So on the surface, ARC seemed promising and very much up Landon's alley. As a lifelong gamer experiencing fast success once through YouTube, stepping into AR gaming probably felt like a natural evolution for him. And at first, it appeared to be going pretty well. In an announcement video, Landon shared that he was able to raise $4.1 million from investors and that the company had been valued at $40 million, which I'm sure was music to Liz's ears, am I right? All jokes aside, it seemed like Landon was pretty serious about ARC, and to give him credit, he genuinely worked hard for months to get the company up and running, as he had let's just say, very big plans for it.
The last 10 months, I know I've been distant. I know I've been gone for the most part on socials and YouTube, and I'm definitely not the gaming YouTuber that I used to be. But the thing is, for the last 10 months, I have been working on a project and working on this thing that I genuinely consider to be like my calling in life. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something that will actually make a difference, to do something or create something that you guys will actually enjoy or like or love. This is something that I think will actually add value to your life and make your life easier in so many different ways and just better. I do need to say two quick things. The first thing is that I'd like to put it in like video right now that I think this company, ARC, will rival Apple or Microsoft or Amazon within 5 years. And then the second thing is I really want to show to you guys or prove through my actions that you really can do anything. Like your wildest imagination, the thing you desire most, can actually be achieved. And I fully believe that. So I'm rooting for you guys fully. I appreciate your support and look forward to more to come.
Ironically, that video was posted almost exactly 5 years ago. And ARC did in fact go on to rival Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon. God, could you imagine if that was true? Realistically, the idea that a company built from the ground up could rival tech giants within 5 years is wildly ambitious. And I just want to make it clear that's not me being a negative hater. The very companies Landon named took decades to scale to even a fraction of what they are today. So it was definitely a bold claim to make, Landon. And well, that claim has aged pretty poorly as well. Because after 5 years of allegedly working hard on ARC, there's surprising little, if anything, to show for it. In my opinion, part of the reason is that it's never been really clear what ARC or the ARC ring was actually supposed to do. Landon released teasers about the product and its functionality to his fans from his YouTube gaming days, but the descriptions are vague. And from what's been shown, it doesn't look like the product actually does anything meaningful. Oh my God, someone just asked if the ring could have a feature to know when someone's cheating. Landon ran a ton of giveaways to promote and grow interest in the ring over the years, mirroring tactics he used back in his YouTube days. Yet beta releases to purchase or at least try the ring were either delayed or straight up canceled throughout the years. And to me, that all suggests that despite all the effort, very little actually got done. And maybe he just didn't have the skills to turn hype into a real product. For years, there was really no ring to show to anyone, let alone investors who funded the project for millions of dollars. Until more recently, just last December, Landon announced a full product release, which I was personally very excited about. Because to me, the release sort of allegedly confirmed what I had already allegedly suspected. After waiting patiently like it was a second Christmas for the release, only to watch the countdown timer hit 0 and absolutely nothing happening, and then waiting a few more days for the website to be finally live, the ring ended up to be, in my opinion, a total flop. Or in Liz's words, bullshit. I love her. By this point, it seems like Landon's ARC ring has moved away from the original augmented reality concept. It's now marketed as some sort of universal remote, basically letting you scroll through TikTok using it instead of like your perfectly good finger amongst one of the features. And I can just imagine Kabi Lame sitting somewhere silently mocking the whole thing and thinking like, Landon, what the hell is this? Now, in my alleged opinion, it's pretty clear that Landon's ARC ring is kind of a metaphor for him as a person, over-promising and under-delivering. All hype and no substance. Big promises and a whole lot of nothing. At the end of the day, Landon's ARC ring seems essentially worthless. And with only around 5,000 views to the ARC website in total, there appears to be virtually no real interest in it. Which makes you wonder how much Landon's alleged fortune was actually real to begin with, and how much of it was just smoke and mirrors. In my opinion, what seems to have happened is that Landon legitimately got very successful during his Fortnite days, kept up a very expensive lifestyle afterward, and then moved on to ARC. A venture he clearly didn't have the expertise to run. Allegedly, of course. Allegedly. Much of what Landon's wealth today could be borrowed or more hype than substance. And that's probably what led to his financial losses rather than anything Liz personally manifested. Now again, this is all speculation and for entertainment purposes only, so please take what I just said with a grain of salt. But As always, let me know what you think in the comments. In any case, all this alleged speculation about Landon's wealth didn't exactly reflect well on Liz. To many of her fans, it made it seem like the manifestation queen herself sort of got swindled by someone who wasn't really who he claimed to be. And even worse, it fueled a lot of criticisms that her attention could essentially be bought with fake or borrowed wealth. Now, I do have my own thoughts on this. For one, I find it really hard to believe that Liz was with Landon just for his money. A woman like Liz, who's been through childhood trauma and has dated multiple wealthy men in the past, and who also has wealth of her own, doesn't strike me at all as someone who would carry someone's damn child purely for financial gain. Like I mentioned earlier, I genuinely think she loved Landon and saw him more for than just the illusion of money he had. Secondly, in my opinion, I don't think it's fair to say that Liz was easily swindled, because Liz could sense how Landon poorly reflected on her and her message. And so to maintain a certain narrative, she actually decided to sell the engagement ring Landon gave to her, which was valued at $100,000, and give the proceeds to single mothers. Or at least she tried to, since the ring couldn't legally be sold. In the end, Liz gave away $50,000 of her own money, something she didn't have to do, nor anyone really expected her to do. Which again, doesn't come across to me as someone who was with Landon just for the financial gain. I thought that was really nice of her to do, actually. Honestly, that should have been it. That should have been the end of the story. A wronged woman follows her own advice and rises above the loser guy who, allegedly, is actually broke. But to everyone's surprise, things took an extremely unexpected turn. And what came next is what I like to call Abbygate.
Hi. I'm not really wanting to make this video, but I feel like I'm obligated to. I'm here to tell my story because I have a voice, and it's been limited for so long because I'm terrified of this man coming back into my life.
This is Abby, Landon's last ex-girlfriend before Liz. Abby is a social media personality and model. Days after Liz publicly exposed Landon's cheating, Abby came forward in a series of TikToks where she shared her own experience being in a relationship with him. And before we continue, I do want to give a fair trigger warning here. Some of the things Abby discusses include themes of emotional and physical abuse, so if that's difficult for you to hear right now, please protect your peace and feel free to skip ahead. Now, Abby says she dated Landon from 2023 to 2024 after meeting him in Dallas where she was working at a nightclub.
I was his bottle girl. My friends knew Landon because he was always going out.
She says that in the beginning, Landon was everything she thought she wanted.
Everyone said he was known for being the sweetest person. He's so sweet, he's so nice, he's a gamer. He made me feel so loved, so seen, so heard, so understood. He took my trauma that I didn't want to open up about, and he made it feel like I'm safe. And I believed him because at the end of the day, like, he was just such a nice person. I'm hearing it from all of his friends, from all of my girlfriends that know him personally because they've been his bottle girl for years. And I'm like, wow, like, could this be the guy that I prayed for? Like, could this be everything I ever wanted in life?
What stands out to me here the most is how eerily familiar this sounds. It's wild how Abby describes Landon in almost the exact same way Liz did, being drawn to how quote-unquote smart Landon was, how good he was with words, how intellectually captivating he felt being around. And if you remember from earlier, Liz had said very similar things about Landon.
You know, guys, the one thing I love the most about Landon is how smart he is. Like, this is no joke. His brain is like insane. I have so much respect for your brain and the way you think. Highly intelligent.
When two different women describe the same man in almost identical language, it's usually not a coincidence. It's usually the beginning of a pattern. And in Abby's case, just like with Liz, Landon's manifestation and charming phase didn't last very long.
We started dating. He cheated on me with the first girl. I took him back. I took him back like 7 times. He cheated on me. I took him back. He wrote me a love letter. He wrote me a book. He wrote me a song. He came to my house with thousands of flowers every time he messed up, and he just swooned me back in. And I was like, wow, like, he's putting this much effort into me. He must love me. I was so stupid. I was so naive. He fed me nothing but lies. His words never correlated with his actions. We went to therapy. I was not educated in therapy. I was not educated in psychology. He found a therapist that specialized in BPD. He told me that I had BPD, and she looked at me, she's like, girl, you do not have BPD. You're too self-aware. You're too empathetic. That doesn't even make sense. He's making me feel like I have something neurologically wrong with my brain. And I was like, no, there's no way. And then I actually believed him. And I thought to myself, I'm like, oh, I'm never gonna be loved. He's the only man that's gonna love me. And that's what I thought, because he kept on throwing my past in my face. He kept on telling me that if I was a real woman, I wouldn't be doing like being a bottle girl. So I ended up quitting bottle service because he told me that the woman that he wants to be with can't be a bottle girl, but he goes into the clubs and he loves the attention from every bottle girl. It makes no sense. He was cheating on me again. He cheated on me, and this is the first time he laid his hands on me. I did call the police on Landon because he put his hands on me, and we were in the car together driving home, and I was scared that he was gonna do it again. And he locked the door and I couldn't get out. So I was really terrified. So I did call the police on him once. I took him back because I'm stupid, because he would flood with more notes, more handwritten notes, more flowers, more everything. And he would jump a like 10-foot fence to get into my building, my apartment complex. And like, it was just so much abuse physically. And then mentally, it comes around New Year's, he cheated on me again with the same girl. They went to the same party. I just lost. I was like, whatever, just go do you. He did not love me. I was in limerence. That's what it was. I fell in love with his potential. I fell in love with the man he could be. He showed me this freaking horrible person. And I'm like, I forgive you. So stupid. So stupid. I break up with him. I don't see him. He sends me thousands of flowers. He found my address. He found my therapist here in Miami. I freak out. I'm texting him like, how the fuck did you find my therapist? How the fuck? He's like, I wanted you back. I wanted her to have my experience with you. I wanted her to see that I love you. And I'm like, he didn't even deny it. He comes to my place. My best friend and I sat right here. He's crying, begging for me back on his knees, hands and knees, saying what he did was wrong. He admitted everything, putting his hands on me, gaslighting me, cheating on me, making me feel like I had BPD. Like these things that are so traumatizing. For now, he didn't want me to let go. He wanted control, and he did. He had control over me. The moment that he didn't have control over me, didn't know what I was doing, I blocked him and everything. I stopped posting. I did all of that. I was like, you don't have control over me. That's why you want me. You don't even love me. You just want to be wanted. You just want to be wanted so bad. You want to be wanted. Like, who does that? I break up with him. I don't talk to him. I don't see him. After that night, I do not see him. I go to Europe. I meet my now boyfriend. I get to Ibiza. He's in Ibiza. He stalks me in Ibiza. He found out where I was going because I was talking about I need to go get Sephora, I need to go get makeup. He comes up to me. He's like, I'm going to talk to you. And then my current boyfriend's like, do you want to talk to him? I'm like, no. He's like, he grabs my arm. My current boyfriend pushes his arm back and was like, she does not want to talk to you, dude, so that means that you leave. He makes a big scene. He's making a whole scene walking out of the Sephora. My bodyguard comes in at the end and we're like, yeah, we need to leave. So he escorts us out. We pay, we leave. I'm in the car crying. I'm like, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so scared. When we went to the therapist, she was like, this is not love. She's like, honey, you're so young and you don't deserve this, and this is not normal, and this is not how it should be. She told me that those butterflies in your stomach that you get with a man is just your nervous system saying, stop, please stop. Find someone else. It is hard to leave. If you're in a situation that I'm in, or I were, it's hard to leave. It's really hard.
Not gonna lie, I couldn't help tearing up watching Abby talk about her experiences. These are, of course, only her allegations, but regardless where anyone stands, she very clearly carries a lot of pain, shame, and self-blame. And I think a lot of people, myself included, know that feeling of loving someone, but knowing deep down something isn't right. Also, speaking publicly about something this personal isn't easy, especially online, where people will question you, doubt you, or minimize what happened. Choosing to speak at all is a lot. and deserves to be acknowledged. Abby shares a lot of specific details about what happened, but instead of going through each one, I think the bigger takeaway is the pattern she's describing, because it's something you see all the time in relationships that slowly turn toxic. According to many years of psychology research, part of that pattern starts with the idealization phase. This is when everything feels perfect, and the other person seems almost too good to be true. Both Abby and Liz's story really shows how that can draw someone in, even when red flags are already there.
He's so sweet, he's so nice, he's a gamer. Everyone said he was known for being the sweetest person.
Landon was really nice. Everything was great. He was very kind, super sweet, super gentleman-like. Literally a dream guy. Literally a dream guy.
I'm like, wow, like, could this be the guy that I prayed for? Like, could this be everything I ever wanted in life?
This situation just proves to me even more how I'm always being guided and how you have to look out for the signs in life and how manifestation and setting your energy onto something really attract.
After the idealization, almost always comes the devaluation phase. And this is where the same person who seemed perfect starts to belittle, criticize, or gaslight, most of the time in small ways at first, calling you too sensitive or overreacting, for example. Calling you crazy.
He found a therapist that specialized in BPD. He told me that I had BPD, and she looked at me, she's like, girl, you do not have BPD. You're too self-aware. You're too empathetic. That doesn't even make sense.
Now, I remember with me, I noticed that my partner started becoming like a little mean, more irritated by me easily when you ask them whether they're cheating, and they become so defensive, or they call you crazy, and they basically like overreact. That's definitely what I had happened. I was called crazy.
Now, this can happen for a lot of reasons. Sometimes devaluing someone helps the person feel in control, or it might be a way to project their own insecurities, anger, and guilt onto the other person. Either way, it's a key part of the cycle that keeps someone trapped in the relationship and doubting themselves. Then comes the betrayal phase, where the trust with that person is broken. It almost always happens repeatedly through lies, cheating, or other hurtful actions.
I just got cheated on.
He cheated on me with the first girl.
Over time, it can wear you down and make you start to feel like somehow you deserve it, even though you absolutely don't.
I actually believed him. And I thought to myself, I'm like, oh, I'm never gonna be loved. I was so stupid. I was so naive, and I was so young to ever think that's what love is.
And with my ex, I had the same thing, the same thing that I repeated again, which is so stupid. I should not have done this. Like, I should have listened to my intuition.
After betrayal, the person always almost does grand gestures to pull you back in. Things like apologies, gifts, or over-the-top romantic displays.
He wrote me a love letter. He wrote me a book. He wrote me a song. He came to my house with thousands of flowers every time he messed up.
Like, the past year we were together, he did everything for me. All my bills he paid, like all his time he spent with me. Anything I wanted, I did like this, and he bought it for me. Every week I get flowers.
These moments can feel meaningful, making you hope things will finally change. The person tries to convince you that things go back to normal, that they love you, and that it'll never happen again. But usually these gestures are simply part of the cycle itself. And before you know it, you're back in the same pattern all over again. Like I mentioned earlier, Abby and Liz's stories are, of course, just their perspectives. I'm not here to make any direct claims about Landon. The reason I'm mentioning this cycle is just to remind anyone watching that if you or someone you know finds yourself in a situation like this, please know that you're not alone. Being in a situation like this doesn't mean you're weak, stupid, or to blame for it. It can absolutely happen to anyone, and there's always a way to find support and move forward. Yeah, that's all I just wanted to say about that. When Abby shared these TikToks, I don't think she meant any harm by them. To me, it just comes across as her wanting to share her side of things and clarify that she wasn't the other woman in the situation with Landon. She also mentioned that Liz allegedly tried to reach out to her and that her intention was just to help.
In my eyes, I was like, he's engaged to a woman that if he looked the other way, she would drop him. So, like, of course, he has to be on his best behavior. I did get a phone call from her. I got my motorcycle stolen out of my building, and I don't know how the hell that happened, but it did. I answered the no caller ID, assuming it was going to be the police. It wasn't. And I have friends that are, I don't know what the correct verbiage is, but they're Middle Eastern and they have an accent. And she called me, she's like, who is this? And I was like, you called me, like, who is this? And then she said, my name is Liz, who is this? And I was like, I don't even think I answered, because I was like, is this the moment where I tell her everything? Like, oh my God, like, how did she get my number? Like, I was like, and I think that's when she hung up on me. The only reason I think it was her was the accent and the fact that she said her name was Liz. And then I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, I had such a heavy heart, because I know what it feels like to be like going through your partner's phone and then finding like he reached out to like an ex, or that he reached out to other girls. Like, I know what that feels like, because I experienced it for so long in that one relationship. So I was like, oh my God, like, do I say something? I did TM her, and I did try to warn her, and she didn't answer. Like, she's fucking famous, you know, like, she probably didn't see it.
I have some thoughts on this. So if I were in a situation where my husband had cheated and an ex-girlfriend reached out to warn me or to give me a heads up about him, I'd probably appreciate it. In my opinion, it just shows that another woman is looking out for you, even though it's like super awkward. Like, girl, I would die. Don't even. But if I were someone like Liz with a whole online persona about leveling up and picking the right partner, and suddenly my husband's cheating became a public scandal for like 8 million fans, yeah, it's going to land a little differently. And well, things did, in fact, land differently for Liz. Over a series of Instagram stories, Liz replied to Abby in a way I think no one really saw coming. Guys, I'm getting videos from my friends that Landon's ex just posted a video saying that she DM'd me before and that I called her. I have never in my life called any woman or been aware about other women in our relationship. Whatever happened between you and Landon is between you guys to solve, but don't start lying and making up rumors about me. She also leaked Landon's phone number and email, and people are calling him every second to unalive himself. I don't want the father of my child to hurt himself. He's already going through it and he's already lost everything. Stop the hate, please. I'm really trying to move on from this, but now I can't even try to heal or think about me and the baby because I have to worry about my ex hurting himself. Do whatever you want to do, but leave me out of this and stop creating false narratives that never happened. Cheaters should date cheaters, period. And how are you going to talk about cheating when Landon posted evidence of you having a sugar daddy whilst in a relationship with him? Weird. Now, I try to be objective when I do these kinds of videos. Like, my goal when making these videos is to break down situations involving well-known people to, you know, hopefully learn something about ourselves along the way. But this has me completely flabbergasted. Not gonna lie. Like, it's honestly crazy to me that this is what Liz took away from Abby's 30-minute TikToks. I'm not necessarily concerned about whether or not Liz actually called Abby. Truthfully, it's kind of a she said situation, and we'll probably never really know what happened there. What stands out to me the most in Liz's response, though, is her claim that Abby somehow leaked Landon's phone number and email. I'm sorry, but I don't buy for a second that a woman visibly shaking and getting hives recounting a toxic relationship with a man would want anything to do with him, let alone leak his contact information. In my opinion, someone like Landon, who sort of consistently acted in his own interest, wouldn't actually follow through with hurting himself. What I think might have happened is that he said that to Liz and she unfortunately believed him. However, believing someone who lied to you and publicly embarrassed you by being, for lack of a better term, an idiot is wild. In fact, a lot of people thought this response came across as defending Landon, especially since it seemed like Liz was trying to discredit Abby by implying she was a sugar baby. And given Liz's own history of being associated with wealthy, high-status men earlier in her life, some people felt that angle was, interesting, to say the least. Instead of two women recognizing that they may have been misled by the same man, it started to look like one woman trying to undermine the other's credibility while indirectly standing up for the very man at the center of it all. In my opinion, part of the reason this landed so differently for Liz is because Abby's account very clearly shifts the tone of the entire situation. I think it takes it from just another influencer cheating scandal and makes it feel a lot more serious. That it wasn't a case of manifestation conversation that brought Landon and Liz together, but rather a deeper pattern of unresolved trauma. In that version of events, Liz isn't just the wife in a messy headline. She becomes someone who may have been caught in the same toxic cycle. And I don't think Liz wants that narrative. I don't think she wants to be seen as a victim, especially not publicly, while pregnant with millions of people watching. That's a hard identity to sit in for someone who's been through a lot in her life and has worked hard not to be a victim, while also teaching others how not to be one. So in some ways, Liz's response feels less about defending Landon and more about pushing back against a narrative that she maybe wasn't ready or willing to accept.
Now, there is something that I want to say about cheating in general, and it's like, look, it shouldn't ruin your life because I knew this person as someone else. I did not know all these things about this person. So for me, it was a whole reality shift. But I was not like, oh my God, I'm gonna let this ruin the rest of my life, because honestly, that person shouldn't have that much power over me.
Landon's cheating scandal was about a year ago, and while Liz has moved forward publicly, the situation clearly left its mark. She appears to have recently given birth to her baby in the US, though it didn't come without serious challenges.
So this is when everything started to go wrong.
Hi guys, right now I am 17 days postpartum. So I gave birth, but some things happened that I did not expect. So basically, I think they were gonna take the balloon out that was inside of my cervix. And the issue with this was this nurse, the one that we had, she went ahead and she took the balloon out of my cervix. And when she did that, all of a sudden my body started going into shock. So I started shaking completely. My teeth, I couldn't even hold them still. It was like, I was clicking like this. And my whole body was shaking. I asked her, I'm like, hey, I don't feel well. Is this normal? And she was like, yes, it's completely normal. This happens when you're going into labor and you're gonna give birth soon. So for me, I didn't want to question her authority because she's a nurse, but it felt wrong. Another nurse came and she took over the shift and she looked at me and whatever was going on the monitor, and she told me we need to immediately start administering you antibiotics because there's an infection. And I was like, what's going on? I didn't understand. They gave me something to make my blood pressure normal again. This helped for a little bit, but after that, my baby's heart rate went up very high and it wouldn't stop. So they monitored it for a little bit and they were waiting for it to go down, but it wouldn't go down anymore. So my baby was in a lot of stress. All of a sudden, the doctor, the nurse, they come in a few moments later and they say, look, we know you didn't want the C-section, but you have to have an emergency C-section or, either one of you is not going to make it. And I literally, from that moment, started bawling my eyes out. I don't think I've ever cried this much. I started bawling my eyes out because I did not want to have a C-section. I was super scared to have a surgery like that. I was already in labor for 36 hours. It was so bad. I started crying. Sabina was like, what do we do? Whatever. And I said, okay, let's go then for an emergency C-section because I don't want anything to happen to my baby. Right before I go in for the C-section, the doctor tells me look, I know you're very young, but do you have a will? And I was like, what the fuck? Right now, what, am I about to die? What is happening here? Okay. And he's like, yeah, we have to ask these questions. No. And I think it was also because my body was so weak at this point. It's shaking. And then obviously if they see me in a state like that, they're not thinking there's a chance that I might not make it back out alive. I was very weak at that point and I was so dissociating completely. I was like, what is going on? I don't know. So then all of a sudden, and I hear the baby is out and I'm like, oh my God, everything went well. So the whole surgery went well, thank God. But honestly, guys, I was so out of it. I felt like I was outside of my body. It was very traumatic. My birth was very traumatic. Not what I expected or what I thought it was gonna be, but just that euphoric feeling of seeing my baby, nothing will ever compare. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry again. This probably postpartum, okay?
But and that makes me so emotional. I think this whole situation and everything taught me so much about myself, about the people that I allow in my life. And to have this outcome from all of this, it's like the biggest blessing. It's like I could not ask for anything better. Any times that I've cried or felt bad, it's like all like, wow. And you know, I've talked a little bit about like how I sometimes struggle with suicidal thoughts, and you guys know that, like the ones that watch me often. And it's like the first time when I'm like sad or whatever that I don't have those thoughts anymore, because I feel like now I have something to live for.
Can women ever just catch a break? Like, goddamn. Childbirth is already an intensely vulnerable and unpredictable experience, and I honestly don't know many women who call it easy. Now imagine going through infidelity and then facing a traumatic birth where you genuinely feared for your life, all in such a short span of time. I think we can all agree that surviving all that takes an incredible amount of strength. So with that being said, my heart truly goes out to Liz. I'm glad she had people supporting her through something so overwhelming, and above all, I'm just genuinely relieved that she and our baby made it through safely. One person who doesn't seem to be supporting her, however, is Landon. You see, Landon and Liz are not together publicly, and I think Liz has made that very, very clear throughout the year. Period, girl. Period. But at the same time, it's clear Landon hasn't exited her life entirely. In fact, well, it seems like Liz has made a permanent decision to stay in the US, where Landon is from, likely so, you know, their child can have access to both parents. This guy doesn't seem to want to make things easier for the sake of their child. This is Landon's last uploaded video to his old gaming channel, where he seemingly is using his newborn baby to promote his ARC ring. Now, normally you'd expect new parents to have other things on their mind, primarily their baby, obviously, especially, you know, ones fresh off a cheating scandal. But apparently, Landon begs to differ, because if that wasn't enough, not long after the cheating scandal unfolded, Landon filed an official lawsuit against his ex, Abby. And in this lawsuit, Landon cites defamation and libel, and going as far as requesting a temporary restraining order against his ex. Now, I have to admit, there is a lot going on in this lawsuit, but mainly, Landon claims Abby's allegations against him in those TikTok videos and their past relationship are completely false. And because of Abby's false allegations, Landon alleges he lost over $3 million in revenue after canceling a product launch, and that investor cut ties with ARC, his company, due to the controversy. Now, I do have some thoughts on that, but since it's an ongoing legal case, I'll behave. One thing I'll say though is that the demand letter he sent to Abby to get her to take down her TikToks is wild. So wild that I thought it imperative to share with you. So without further ado, let's dive in. As you know, this firm represents Mr. Landon Nickerson. Although you removed your videos from your TikTok account in response to our cease and desist letter, you have failed to comply with the remaining demands. Your refusal to comply has only made matters worse for you, as every day that passes that you fail to remedy your past transgressions against Mr. Nickerson, your liability increases and today exceeds $1.75 million. This letter is your last opportunity to right your wrongs. We demand that you publish a retraction statement to your TikTok account and keep such posts live for 5 consecutive days. The retraction statement shall be in the same or substantially the same form as below. To my followers, the public, and most importantly, Landon and TheWizardLiz, I write to formally retract and publicly apologize for the statements I made in the videos I posted regarding my prior relationship with Landon. In those videos, I made a series of serious allegations about Landon, including stating that he was physically and emotionally abusive, stalked me, and manipulative. But these are lies. Landon did not abuse me, stalk me, or manipulate me, and I'm ashamed of my decision to use this situation as a way to gain views and popularity. Lies like the ones I have told have real consequences for real people. I know my actions have caused Landon and TheWizardLiz to endure anxiety, stress, receive death threats, and a vast array of other emotions. And for that, I am truly sorry. To my followers, I am sorry that I showed this side of myself, a side of me that I continue to work on. I am committed to growing from here and ask that everyone stop targeting Landon and TheWizardLiz, as no one deserves to be ridiculed in the ways that they have been. I look forward to putting this behind me, and and apologize to all those that I have hurt in the situation. And can you believe that's only the first demand? Execute a non-disclosure agreement wherein you agree to refrain from publishing any content or making any public statement concerning Mr. Nickerson, his business, and his family, including TheWizardLiz. 3. Remit payment to Mr. Nickerson in the amount of $150K, an amount far less than what Mr. Nickerson will be entitled to recover if we proceed with filing the lawsuit. The best decision you can make at this juncture is to accept your mistakes, retract your statements, apologize for the harm you caused, and pay a nominal amount to Mr. Nickerson for the damage you have inflicted. And trust me, $150K is a nominal amount in light of the damages Mr. Nickerson has suffered. What the? Should you decide not to accept this offer, you can rest assured that we will take swift legal action against you and seek the recovery of Mr. Nickerson's damages to the full extent permitted by law, which to date amount to more than $1.75 million. We will also seek the recovery of our attorney's fees and costs, and because your behavior is abhorrent, we will request that the court enter punitive damages against you in an amount not less than $250K. Let us know how you want to proceed. Choose wisely and govern yourself accordingly. Respectfully, Sheaf and Stone, LLP. Respectfully, by the way. Okay, so speaking from a purely rhetorical standpoint, meaning I'm not trying to take sides, I'm just, analyzing the letter itself, there are a few things that really stand out to me. First is the pre-written forced apology. That's something else. I find it wild that Landon's team didn't just, request a retraction. The letter reads more like they want Abby to basically reverse Landon's entire narrative. To me, the letter reads less like, "Hi Abby, please correct the record," and more like, "Hi Abby, please stand in front of the internet and admit that every claim you made about Landon is a lie. Confess that you made up abuse allegations just to gain clout, like the clout-chasing goblin you are, and apologize profusely for causing emotional damages to him and his fiancée." I repeat, his fiancée. And keep repeating this exact scripted apology every single day for 5 days straight, or else. What the actual If I'm being real, it just feels a little over the top, just a little. And speaking of a little over the top, the dollar threats also get me. The fact that Abby's alleged liability exceeds $1.75 million is wild, and calling $150,000 of settlement demand nominal is honestly audacious. I don't know about you, but I don't know in what universe $150,000 is quote unquote nominal. It just reads to me like they're framing it as Abby should feel relieved to only pay that amount, which in my opinion seems pretty aggressive. And not only that, but every few paragraphs, there's just another big number. $250K in punitive damages, plus attorney's fees, plus lost profits. Guys, I'm feeling poor just reading it. All jokes aside, the heavy emphasis on the dollar amounts makes it seem like money isn't just part of the issue. It feels like the issue. For Landon, it just reads that restoring money is just as important, if not more important, than restoring his reputation, which, in my opinion, says a lot about where things may stand for him financially. Also, the overall tone of the letter seems like it's less about any kind of legal standing and more about just intimidating. Phrases like "choose wisely," "the truth about you will come out," and "your behavior is abhorrent" all read as, well, pretty heavy-handed and moralistic, to say the least. It's just very odd and honestly kind of wild that something like this came from a reputable law firm, but again, that's just my opinion. It's hard to say exactly how much Liz is involved in this legal battle, whether she helped push it forward with Landon from the start or just caught somewhere in between. In any case, I can't help but think that for a mother caring for a newborn, being dragged into this legal mess, having to show up to the hearings, deal with subpoenas, and navigate endless filings must feel absolutely exhausting, especially on top of your own legal mess. Because just recently, on April 1st, almost like some kind of sick April Fool's joke, Landon filed a lawsuit against Liz herself. Girl, I had the same reaction. Now, there aren't many public details about the case just yet, but from what's in the filing, the lawsuit seems to revolve around their child, perhaps something related to custody. On top of the lawsuit, Landon also seems to have requested a temporary restraining order against Liz, adding another messy layer to the situation. Honestly, I'm just trying to wrap my head around how insane this entire situation is, because while I'm absolutely shook, I'm also not entirely surprised all of this is happening. I mean, suing or getting into legal fights seems to be a pattern with Landon in regards to his ex-lovers, so there's that, I guess. But suing and requesting a temporary restraining order against the mother of your child, I'm sorry, that's just crazy, especially when you remember that the cheating scandal was only about a year ago and their child isn't even a year old yet. In an Instagram story, Liz claimed that Landon was trying to get a restraining order against her because she was moving out of the house they apparently both lived in and wouldn't share her new address. According to Liz, the move wasn't just about leaving Landon, but more about safety. She said Landon had leaked her address on LinkedIn, which made her feel like she needed to relocate to protect herself and their child. Liz also mentions that the reason why Landon filed a temporary restraining order against her is that he claimed she was trying to take their child out of the country. She explains that she was simply moving to a new house within their neighborhood to maintain some distance from him. Liz also writes, "However, God doesn't like liars, so I was able to get him arrested and got a 2-year protective order against him." Girl, what? Now, all of this is pretty intense development, to say the least, and to me it really just highlights how messy and complicated this situation has become. Because first of all, it sort of confirms that even after the cheating scandal and everything that's happened between them, Liz is co-parenting her baby with Landon by apparently living together this entire time. Which is wild when you think about it, given Liz's whole message of leaving toxic relationships and refusing to stay with someone who's lied or hurt her. I guess real life doesn't always line up with the TikTok version, huh? Second of all, thanks to some really clever internet sleuths, it's been uncovered that the house she claimed to have bought and where she was allegedly living with Landon was actually just a rental property. Oh, and on top of that, the Lamborghini she also claimed to have bought as both a push present and post-cheating scandal gift for herself was actually in Landon's name. Girl, oh my god. Messy is an understatement here. The situation as a whole is hard to fully piece together from everything that Liz has shared and the other details that have been uncovered. There are definitely gaps and unanswered questions, which makes the situation feel even more complicated than it already is. And honestly, girl, a little hard to follow. However, what we can piece together is that Landon's arrest came only the night after he allegedly requested the temporary restraining order and custody orders against Liz. And according to public records, Landon was booked for assault causing bodily injury, categorized under family violence. Now, this detail really stands out to me because, and I'm only speculating here, the arrest itself doesn't seem like it was planned by Liz at all. And since it allegedly happened literally the night after Landon filed the lawsuit against Liz, it makes the whole situation feel sudden and reactive. Also, if the charges are accurate, it would also suggest that Landon did, in fact, allegedly got physical with her. Now, this detail is huge, yet somehow it didn't quite make it into Liz's Instagram post. In my opinion, the reason why this might be is because of the undeniable, massive contradiction it would create. Not just with Liz's platform and her public messaging, but with her whole carefully crafted identity. Because the woman who spent years manifesting an ideal life, speaking out against abusive relationships, and reflecting on breaking cycles of harm, is now finding herself in a situation that very much mirrors parts of her past she's talked about healing from. Being a single mother, reliant, at least in part, on a man who might be possibly controlling or harmful. I can't help but say that the situation feels a little ironic, maybe even frustrating to watch from the outside, and ultimately deeply human in many, many ways. In her Instagram post, Liz makes it clear that she doesn't plan on dropping the charges against Landon and speaks in a way that, let's just say, suggests she's standing firm in her plan. She also mentions that she believes that Landon needs psychological help and isn't well. Now, I think that the whole situation Liz finds herself in now has long passed the point of being just content and drama. I mean, Landon's arrest, Liz's lawsuit, and everything in between is honestly way above my pay grade to speak more on, especially considering this is an ongoing situation and there's still so much we don't know. With that being said though, I think it's safe to say that whatever is happening here is clearly not something you can just manifest your way out of. More than anything, I just genuinely hope things work out for that baby, because at the end of the day, I think we can all agree that's what really matters here. Even beyond the legal drama, it's clear that Landon and Liz are still connected. No matter what she said about independence or financial freedom, she can't exactly step away from the father of her baby. Co-parenting, navigating his ongoing controversies, and managing her own brand creates a level of complexity money alone can't solve. Not to mention, motherhood is a whole other chapter we have yet to see Liz really navigate. The Wizard Liz's story is one of resilience, about getting through difficult, painful experiences and trying to turn them into something meaningful. But it also reminds us that healing isn't always as straightforward as it looks online, and that trauma doesn't automatically translate into wisdom or clarity. I think there's always a gap between the life someone sells online and the life that they actually have to live. The idealized version, the motivational speeches, the confidence, and the idea that you can manifest the perfect relationship and the perfect life are all very compelling, aspirational things. But as we've seen through Liz, unfortunately, real life doesn't work that way, because real life is messier than that, which is okay, because life isn't meant to be like perfectly curated or perfectly understood. It's messy, complicated, and no one has all the answers, even the people giving the advice. I think if there's anything to take away from Liz, it's that the lives we see online are rarely the full truth. So if you've ever felt like you're falling behind while watching someone else boast about their perfect life online and explain how you're supposed to get it too, honestly, girl, it. You're doing a lot better than you think, girl. And I think at this point, we can all agree that it's all bullshit. That's all I have for you today. Let me know what you think about the Wizard Liz. I'm curious to know your take on the whole situation and everything we talked about today. This was a really long video, so I doubt I got to cover everything. Seriously though, negative or positive, write your comment down below and give me your likes and views so I can replace the phone that got stolen from me. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!